Okay. So is my laptop good for my face here?
Yes, you're fine. You're great. You're
Okay.
great. The technical problem was me forgetting I have to wear my headphones when I use this microphone.
Oh,
I,
okay.
I had some technical problems when I did my video with David as well, my interview. So, welcome everybody. I have my friend Gary of GaryFultz.com, a fellow blogger with me today. And Gary lives in the far north frozen tundra of Minnesota. Uh, so,
It's
Gary,
frozen right now.
yeah, what's the temperature up there right now?
Oh, it's actually warm today. I don't know what it is right now. It got up to 20 though.
Wow.
Um, yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's like the first time it's been above zero in quite a while.
Okay.
And so we started out above zero today. It warmed up overnight,
Okay.
and so we're going to get some warmth here. I think it's going to even hit the 30s in our
Wow.
area. So that's a pretty big deal. It's been a long time.
Well, we're going to be in the 50s in Nebraska next week.
Oh,
So, yeah. But, you know, David of David's Daily Dose, I think he needs to go up there now to
they
where
should
you live.
experience this.
I
Yeah,
think
and
he
sleep in
should.
this cabin. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sit in the cabin, no
Oh, yeah.
heat. Yeah, I don't think he needs the heat
Well,
either.
no, they would die.
But I think it'd be good for David to experience a Minnesota winter. So I lived in Minnesota. I don't know if you knew this. I lived there once this up when I was studying for the ministry. I lived in Minneapolis, and the first fall, it was 1991, and they had that mega storm, 28 inches of snow at the end of October, and then 14 inches of snow a few weeks later. And then my last winter there, the McDonald's had a special: buy 1/4 pounder or quarter pound of cheese and get the second one with the price of temperature the day before. And it did
Oh,
not get above zero during the daytime all of December. So it's basically just buy one, get one free. And so what do broke college students do? We went to McDonald's every day. And I after that I didn't want to eat McDonald's anymore. So
oh.
yeah, I like that cabin. I'm going to share a little bit with our viewers or listeners to show them the pictures because I think it's like so cool. Um, so Gary had emailed me, sent me an email, and the in the email he shared some pictures with me. Let me find that here. Can I find that picture? Uh, Maybe it's a different email. This is my technical. Oh, here we go. The technological challenge person here, and let me find it here.
I'm sitting in the cabin right now if you
Yeah,
want me to flash the screen around.
here we go. I love it. And Alicia, for his purpose, sent you this sign, right? The Be
Yes,
Still. Yeah, she's very
she did a great
talented.
job.
Yeah,
Great job. It's
yeah,
hanging above one of the windows here.
yeah. It'll be Alicia from For His Purpose, and this is the cabin out in the woods where David can camp out anytime in the winter time.
The bear are sleeping at this time, so that's the good news.
The bears are sleeping. Yeah. So David,
Yep.
you'll be safe from the bears, and I love it. It's so cool, and that's like the little walkway up to it. And how long did it take you to make that cabin to build it?
Well, I did it on the side. I actually took about a year and used all spare parts that were everywhere, even off the sawmill for most of the lumber. And so,
Okay.
and people would give me things. And so I built this cabin literally with stuff laying around. And so it took about a year, just doing a little here, a little there. I was not in a hurry at all. I just
Okay.
wanted to have something, a
Okay.
getaway.
Oh, cool. And you use it for prayer and just for quiet time?
A little bit of everything. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I saw in your email that you have friends who send it to you, or who friends who come there also to use it for like a retreat or prayer time.
Yep.
That's so
Yep.
cool. It's out there in the woods. Now, Gary, just so everybody knows, he is like the last of a dying breed of the outdoorsman, the great outdoorsman. He loves the outdoors, and I think if he wasn't married, he'd probably sleep outside. I don't know.
I'd have this cabin at least.
Yeah. So you're kind of an avid outdoorsman. You like fishing and hunting, right? Okay.
Yep.
And do you do ice fishing right now?
Yeah, actually, I'm planning to go tomorrow. Being it's warming up, it's really tough on equipment going out there, and you don't want to
Yeah.
go out there with your ATV on the lake and then not have it start when it gets 30 below. And
Oh, that would be bad.
I'm careful now that I'm older. I'm more careful than I was when I was younger.
Oh, I can understand. I can understand. Well, and Gary is one of the two bloggers I've actually met in person. He stopped in at Lincoln a couple times. We had hamburgers.
Yep.
And what did you think of Honest Abe's the last time we ate
Oh
hamburgers?
man, unbelievable. Really good stuff.
Yeah,
They do it right.
yeah, I really liked it. I really like Honest Abe's. And so just to let everybody know, Gary is a fellow blogger, and I want to show you his blog here. Uh, Gary is really quite the talented photographer, and his blog is garyfultz.com, foundational life truth stories and pictures. And he also has a devotional blog link. I'll show that in a minute. But I love the pictures you take. You're so much better of a photographer than I am. Oh, there we go. Ice fishing.
That's ice fishing. I took the
Yeah.
grandkids at Christmas.
Oh,
Yep.
that's good. And this is his devotional blog link.
Yep. Just
Okay.
click on the blog link right there.
Yeah. Gary webpress.com, Gary D. Web. And so here's this for his devotionals he writes, and also sharing more pictures. So Gary, when you write your blog, what kind of gives you inspiration for your blog posts?
Usually it's some type of an experience.
Okay.
For instance, I just wrote one on God's ways are different.
Okay.
Um, and I wrote it after our furnace went down and it was 25 below and it was the middle
Right.
of the night.
Wow.
And so, and then you have emergency people that come over and don't have the right part, but they still charge you money. So I wrote a little bit about that. It sort of gave me an idea, and I want to write things that aren't just yeah I know that's true, yeah I know that's true. It's something
Hmm.
that is an insight from real life, some type of an experiential thing.
Okay. All right. Cool. That's
That's
good.
usually what kicks me off,
Okay.
or the photography that I do. When I look through the lens, there are things that you see that you don't normally see just walking around. It's not obvious, and so
Yeah.
those types of insights are insights that I have that maybe are a different slant than anybody else has.
Now, are you in central Minnesota or northern Minnesota?
Um, Probably they would call it, well, I'm definitely northern Minnesota. I'm probably about, as the crow flies, maybe 70 to 80 miles from the border, Canadian border,
Okay. All
south of the
right.
border. So we're up there. When you see the weather report on the whole United States, you see this dip in temperature that comes down.
Uh-huh.
That's where we live. And so
Wow.
oftentimes Bemidji, Minnesota, that area near me is oftentimes the coldest spot in the nation, very often. Somewhere
Wow.
between here and North Dakota, yeah.
Yeah. So I think David really needs to experience that in like January. That'd be good for him.
I think he would like to experience ice fishing too.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely, definitely, I think so. Uh, I was up that in northern Minnesota one time in my life. I was in Boy Scouts, 13 years old, and we did a canoe trip from Lake Erie into the Boundary Waters,
Yep.
canoed into Canada. Didn't talk to any Canadian people, but it's kind of all those lakes that were connected. Is you're up there where there's just a lot of wonderful nature to interact with. So a lot of trees and animals.
I've done 70 trips to the Boundary Waters.
Wow.
And that's a whole another area that is hundreds of lakes all connected, more water than land. And so you walk between lakes or to the rivers or
Hmm.
systems or however you do it, portaging. And so I have done 70 trips as of last year.
Now, if I remember right, you used to take troubled youth with
Yes.
you on canoe trips.
Yep.
Could you share us like one story from that?
Well, I've shared several in my blog. I think probably, boy, uh, it's more like incidences that happen. We rescued a man after it rained 7 inches one night. They tipped their canoe in a raging river. I called it Raging Water
Mm,
Rescue. Um, and that was an incident. We've had several bear walk into camp, which usually freaks people out. They just want your food mostly, and they don't
mhm,
like rocks being thrown at them. Those things happen.
mhm.
Sometimes I think the most I've gone in a day on the water with a canoe is 6 portages and 29 miles, something like that.
Okay.
Um, and so there's various types of things, but it's definitely remote wilderness camping,
Hmm.
and you don't dare make a big mistake there. That can be treacherous.
Hmm. Yeah, I understand that. I remember like when I was up there, they told us not to bring food into our tents
Yep.
because attract the bears to the tent. And I woke up and I heard a kind of a growling sound or a sound like, oh my gosh. That they also said, if any of you happen to have fireworks, light off the fireworks to scare the bears away. And of course, 13, 14-year-old boys were like, so of course, so I heard it and I lit off some lady fingers to throw it outside. And guys in the tent were like, Crow, what are you doing? I said, there's a bear out there. No, there isn't. The next morning we went out, there's a log not too far from our tent, and you can just see the paw print like that. And like, oh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
My wife and I were leading a group one time, a couples group, and we hit the Duraccio winds, which were over 100 miles an hour, and so they
Oh.
lost several million trees. The year was 2000, and you can look it up online. There's full sections on that.
Uh-huh.
Um, but we began to realize how minuscule we are and how
Mm-hmm.
powerful something like way bigger than anything that we can control.
Mm-hmm.
And so we experienced that together.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the time to be in the tent because you can't see the trees
Oh
coming at you.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. So Gary, you've had a long life of serving Jesus, living with Jesus. Could you share your testimony with us?
Yes, yes, I can do that. I did grow up in a Christian family, and we went to church all the time, and that was just a background for me. But when I became well, I would say 14, 15-year old, I began to say to myself, you know what? I've believed because my folks believe. I believe because uh, all the people that I know believed, basically, except for my friends in school. And what do I believe? And so I went through quite a crisis as a
Mm-hmm.
15-year-old, and I it was a crisis on many fronts. I wanted to know: did God really exist? Does Satan really exist? Is this real? What's
Mm-hmm.
real? Um, and beyond the shadow of a doubt, through a series of crazy events, I knew for sure that Satan existed, first of all. And in my reasoning, it's sort of like God retracted from me, if you will, and
Mm-hmm.
and just let things happen in my life, and they were evil.
Mm-hmm.
Friends and different things that happened around me, and it just brought me to my knees. I remember kneeling on in the barn. We were on a little farm. My dad was an educator and kept us kids busy and out of trouble by doing farm work.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember kneeling on the barn floor, giving my life to the Lord, and I asked the Lord. I said, if this is really real, I mean, I want to give my life to you. And I did. I was convinced it was real. I could convinced that God was real because Satan was real, and I wanted to be on the right side. And I knew that Christ died for me. I knew that He paid for my sin. I knew all of those things in my head. I wanted to see actual and experience actual God working in my life. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted that desperately. I had heard other testimonies of that happening. For the next, and I was a very shy kid. Of my class of about 100 kids, I was one of the shyer ones. But for the next week, um, 2 or 3 times a day, high school kids, some that I didn't even know, would walk up to me and say, "Hey, something's different about you. What is it?" And I didn't know how to articulate it very well at that point. But I got into discussions with kids who were older than I, and that was unusual for me. Um, and that was the start of
Mhm.
something way much bigger in a personal walk with the Lord. I personally experienced His changing power in my life, but it was confirmed by people around me that I had no idea I had changed.
Mhm.
I knew I had in my mind, but and that was I consider that my salvation experience as well as a whole commitment to the Lord. And
Mhm.
later on in life, when I would take teenagers to Boundary Waters, we would, I always had some type of a water cliff off the water because it's all rock up there, and
Uh-huh.
lots of trees growing out of rock. It's phenomenal. But I remember a group of teenagers. We were up on about a 50-foot cliff, and it was 30 feet of water below. And I said, "So once you decide to jump, can you turn back?" There's no turning back in the middle of cliff diving.
No.
And I wanted them to experience that. They did on the lower rocks, and some did on the higher rocks. And and then they told their parents, and then I was in trouble. But other than that, I wanted them to experience the possibility that you cannot turn back when you make a commitment. That's what the nature of commitment is that
Yes.
there's no turning back. And
Yeah.
that's what felt way back in my life, that this is for life.
Yes.
Marriage should be that way. People don't know what commitment is until they have experienced some type of a commitment that really helps them.
Mm.
And that was one of the things I would do with teenagers, is find ways for them to experience what I wanted in a physical way, what I wanted to teach them spiritually. And
Mhm.
so, because that's how I learned.
Yeah. Well, and that's a great example. It's almost like like in Jesus' time we told the parables, like
Mhm.
what an example, like because there's like at that point no turning back. Once you jump off, there's no turning back.
There's no
And
turning back. And 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 that's the example that Christ had when
yeah.
he came and set his face like a flint in one direction,
Hmm.
and there was no turning back. And he
Hmm.
asks that of his followers. And then he asks us to trust him.
Hmm.
And, in experiencing that big storm with my wife, when you experience something that is way beyond your scope of any type of control, you begin to realize, wait, this is really small potatoes compared to who God is.
Hmm.
Um, and so with that, we think we're bigger than we are. And
Hmm.
so there you go.
Yeah.
Um, we should really not just learn to trust God, just jump off the cliff.
Yeah.
Say, I'm going to trust you, Lord, with my life, no matter the circumstances. It's sort of like we get in the valley and we go, woe is me. Are you
Hmm.
sure God's around? Come on, don't be mamby-pamby about this.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I love that.
I'm preaching. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. I love it. I love it. The I kept sharing a video this week about like if I had known, if God had shown me everything I was going to go through when I first stepped out towards ministry, I would be like, oh, I don't know about that, because
Exactly.
there are definitely so many ups, so many downs, so many valleys, so many twists and turns. But Jesus stays with us all the way, and so this is kind of like, yeah, He calls us to follow Him, but He also says He's with us, and so um I like in the Bible, like whenever God says don't be afraid, he says, for I go with you, or I go before you, so that's really comforting. Um so um what's something that you feel, so maybe like some Bible verses that have been speaking to you recently?
I actually have been going through Psalms, and I don't know if you've read any of Brian Troxel's. Troxel, I
Uh-uh.
believe is the right pronunciation. a word in season. He's a blogger also and has written a book on Psalm 23 that is extremely deep and good. It has all kinds of biblical threads that run through it, and he just ties it together so well. So I've been reading through his book and also doing Psalm 23, but also in the other parts of the Psalms, I have about three things going at once. Attention deficit, I think. But I saw this morning. Psalm 4, verses 6 through 8. Many are asking, who can show us anything good? Let the light of your face shine on us, Lord. You have put more joy in my heart than they have when their grain and new wine abound. I will both lie down and sleep in peace, for you alone, Lord, make me live in safety. What a promise. He's so much bigger than, we've got the party crowd out there. It says, hey, we know how to be happy. And Lord says, that's nothing. You can be happy. You can have peace in the midst of the worst trouble that there is on this earth. And those of us who have followed Christ and know him deeply and walk with him daily know that when real trouble hits and when grief hits because of loved ones, and we've experienced that. I wrote about that recently, 4 funerals in just a short period of time. There's still a peace within, and that's unexplainable. There shouldn't be that if God doesn't exist. There's still a peace that passes understanding. There's still a comfort there, even though we grieve heavily. There's something way bigger when we get to the fruits of the Spirit, the love, the joy, the peace, the patience, things that shouldn't happen. Those are things that defy cause and effect. And so that this verse reminds me of that, because I've had so many people come up to me down through the years, not just when I was in high school committing my life to the Lord and jumping off the cliff. I've had so many people come up to me and say, hey, you have something that I want. And they've literally said it like that. You have something, I know you're religious and I don't want the religion part of it, but you got something I want. And I said, well, we need to talk about Jesus here. We're not, wait. No, I'm not talking religion. I'm talking a personal relationship with Jesus. And as a kid, I remember seeing both those elements in church, those that were religious and those that really had a walk with God, that they weren't necessarily just religious. They had way more than that.
Yeah. When you talk about peace and a piece of past understanding, for some reason I thought about the day that my father died. God blessed me with being able to help my father come, lead him to Christ 14 months before he died. And then I go to visit him and in the nursing home or the hospital. He'd point to my Bible for me to read it and put his hand up for me to hold it and pray with him. And I go see him like 2 or 3 times a week. If he's in the hospital, like even more than that. And so I was sitting with him, reading 1 Corinthians chapter 15 about the resurrection to him, and then he took his last breath. And I had so much peace because I knew where he was. I taught my class that night. Wow. Because I was just sort of like, he's with Jesus. That's such a miracle to me. And, I had just that peace knowing, wow, he just entered into eternity today, and and he was older. He was 76, but diabetes, smoked for 50 years. He was really bad health. So it's kind of like, I just had that peace, and that peace that passes understanding is something that people, if somebody does not have Christ, it's hard to understand that. It's like, I think about that old hymn, "As Well With My Soul," written by a man whose whole family had just died in a shipwreck at sea, and they write, "It is well with my soul." That kind of peace that past understanding is, I think, awesome. And we have a fellow blogger that we both communicate with, Carla, and would you like to give a shout out to Carla? Would you like to give a shout out to Carla?
You know, Carla would love staying in this cabin if she could get up here.
Oh, she
Uh,
loves
she
nature walks.
she loves nature. She loves rustic.
Yeah,
This is rustic, and she wouldn't mind a bear on the deck. And
yeah.
so, yeah, no, hey, Carla, hi.
Now I don't know if she liked the cold as much because she's down Missouri way, down there
Well,
was
she could borrow a parka.
or a park.
And
Okay.
yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. You One thing about the cold, David is way down there where
Yeah,
it's warm, and it gets
yeah,
really hot down there. You can only take off so many clothes,
yeah,
but you can put on a whole lot of nice clothes.
yeah.
It's a matter of putting on clothes that trap your body heat, and there away you go.
I'm just gonna guess that between the two of them, that Carla would probably fare better in a Minnesota winter.
I'm not going to, I'm not going to referee on that one.
But I want to shout out to Carla too. Carla, you are in my prayers. Uh, uh, so she's going through a battle that, what a precious sister in Christ, that she battles cancer and that, the net. I don't understand. I'm hoping to do an interview with her in the future. I think she's has such a beautiful spirit to her, such a joyful spirit to her, even though she's going through cancer. And I hope to do an interview with her also. Uh, the um, so um, um, how is everything with your family? How many kids do you have? You have
I have three kids. I have a
okay,
family my oldest daughter's in Kentucky with her kids and
okay,
her husband. I have a son who lives about an hour and a half, actually northwest of me, closer to
wow,
the border. And he has three boys and his wife, and they're doing very well. And then my wife and I, as you know, and people that have read my blog know that we're caregivers for our middle daughter,
mm-hmm,
who was born with spina bifida.
mm-hmm,
She's now 43 years old, and she's had pretty close to a surgery a year on the average.
mm-hmm,
And so her spinal column did not complete, and her spine was like a frayed rope sticking out her back when she was born, and
mm-hmm,
and that has led to problems that just affect everything. What she is a very beautiful person with a very
mm-hmm,
bright mind and can articulate all that. Her body just doesn't work,
mm-hmm,
and she's in constant pain, and there's a whole lot of that goes on. and
mm-hmm,
and and back in my blogs, I have pictures of the hospitalizations, the different things, and I actually
mm-hmm,
deleted one blog that was a little too raw to read after a while.
mm-hmm.
But we knew that she was in 1 week. There was 1,200 people that were probably praying for her from 62 countries,
Mm-hmm.
and I deleted that page
Mm-hmm.
after reading it again, and I thought, oh boy, but people are there for her. She has people around the world that pray for her,
Mm-hmm.
and she's extremely thankful for that. But
Mm-hmm.
we're the caregivers, and so we
Mm-hmm.
don't get out much. Oftentimes it takes two of us. She would otherwise be in some type of a facility with two people handling her all the time, and
Mm-hmm.
just just to keep her going. But it's how can you say something like that as a blessing? In one sense of the word, it is. In another sense of the word, it's a terrible tragedy on life. And this is what sin has gotten us into, is things like this. And we're boy, the human body is so frail.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, when it when something quits working or doesn't work, everything just falls apart. It's
Mm-hmm.
you know about that. You know about that with your car.
Yeah. Well, I know about that living with chronic illness and like not it's not anywhere near as severe as your daughter, but living with like psoriatic arthritis and a few other chronic illnesses, it's like um I kind of feel like the timing of this was like of our interview. You know how sometimes it almost seems like Satan just doesn't want something to happen. And I'll give you an example. I was I'm back to driving a little bit after my leg surgeries. But today I was taking the bus and I went to cross the street. I had the green light and the walk sign, and everything. And this delivery truck almost took me out.
Mm.
Literally was turning right, almost took me out. And then
Wow.
they're just laughing at me. And
Yeah.
there's, I didn't hit me. It came so close to hitting me, like maybe that far from hitting me. And it shocked this woman from the Ukrainian church I help on Sunday afternoons, works at a hospital. She was coming to the other bus stop, saw it. She came over, she held my elbow and helped me cross the street.
That's pretty good.
Now, I used to play football, so I'm kind of like, I don't want to think myself as needing help, right? But I was just kind of like that, and just a few other things. I feel like God wanted this interview to happen, and I think that He's going to speak to people through it. But one thing I would love to do would be if we could do this. I would like to pray with the video going, and I want to pray for your daughter, and then you pray for Carla.
Okay.
How's that sound?
That
Okay.
sounds good.
All right. Father, I thank you for my friend Gary and the blessing he is, and lift up his daughter to you, Lord. Lift up Tanya to you, and pray, Lord, for healing for her body. Pray, Lord, for your spirit to come upon her and for her pain to lessen. Pray for her hands and arms to come back to full movement for her. Pray, Father, that you help her to feel your presence. Pray, Jesus, that you'd heal her body and bless her greatly.
Lord, I just want to pray for Carla and lift her up. You know what's going on. Nothing surprises you. We don't need to talk you into anything, but Father, we trust you in all of this. And we want to lift her up to you for your touch, for your presence, for all that you have for her. And your will be done in all of this, Father. And we are, from our point of view, we just ask you to touch her and heal her. There's so much going on there, Father. So thank you. Thank you for Carla and all that she does with her readers. And you are using. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
Yes. Amen. Amen. So tomorrow, if it goes well, I'm going to be interviewed by my friends at the Ukrainian church in English. I only know a few phrases Ukrainian, but anyway, yeah. So what do you got going on tomorrow? Are you going to go ice fishing tomorrow again? Is that right?
I'm hoping to. I'm hoping
Okay.
to. There can be a wrench thrown in at any time, but I'm hoping to
Okay.
get fishing tomorrow sometime.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, do you catch you always catch really big fish, right?
Not always. Sometimes the little ones, lots of stories there. That's the
Okay.
reason why they call it fishing. I tell you. Sometimes we get some pretty big fish.
Okay.
I've got pictures to prove it.
Yes.
Sometimes we catch some pretty little fish, and I've got pictures to prove that.
Okay.
Sometimes we catch no fish.
Okay.
Other times we can't keep them off the hook. It's a
Okay.
great thing, but it's through the ice, and they have to be moving in order for this to happen. So,
Yeah. Okay.
but odd thing, fish. People don't believe this, but fish are a lot like animals. They have
Yes.
trails
Okay.
in the lake that they frequent, and so I park myself on a place where fish pass by a lot, and
Okay.
that's the key.
All right.
And so yeah,
Okay.
northern pike, walleye, perch,
Okay.
largemouth bass, crappies,
Yes.
sunfish, they're all
Okay.
there,
Okay.
and they're
What
good.
I had another thought. It's like Alicia sent me that plaque, and I know Carla Flannel with Faith loves you know messaging with you and stuff, and
Right,
because Alicia lives out in western Nebraska,
right.
out in the country where the deer and the antelope play. Or never heard a discouraging word, right? And she has
They get some
coyote.
wicked storms.
Yeah. Oh, big storms. And
Yep.
but she's got like her baby goats or goats and other animals in some animals she has they take care of that they want. probably other animals around there they don't want. And of course, Carla's out and always loves going on her nature walks, and she probably loved to live in a cabin herself. And so it's kind of neat. I'm kind of like thinking, well, I'm just kind of a city guy. Last time I went camping, I was a teenager. Like, oh, when I talk about mission trips, when somebody hears a mission trip, they're thinking, oh, like to the rugged jungle. And no, I've always been in cities like Bucharest, Romania, Constanza, Romania, Lyon, France, Rio de Sol, Brazil, and South Mexico. When I go on mission trips, it's always in cities. So I'm not a great camper myself, but God works through everybody, different people. Yeah. Well, Gary, thank you so much for joining me for our chat. This has been a lot of fun for me. And one last time, I want to challenge David of David's Daily Dose to go up to visit Gary in January and stay in that cabin with no heat.
I think you might have to convince Nancy.
Well, Nancy can stay in the house with you and your wife.
There you go.
And David can rough it. He can rough in the cabin.
Ironically, if it's above zero, I've got a heater in here that'll keep it 70 degrees in this cabin. So it's not really roughing it. This is kind of it's rustic. Oh, it's in the woods, but it's not very far from my house.
Well, if David accepts my challenge, take that heater out of there.
Oh man. He'll have the hot pot in the oven going and continuously here.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, thanks a lot. It's so much fun every time we talk, and I always have a lot of fun, a lot of laughter, and hopefully, someday you can come back this way, and maybe we can coordinate it if you come back this way for Alicia to come into town too with her family, and
that'd be fun. I'm hoping to make it to Nebraska again this fall. So okay. I go down. There's a friend beyond you from me where I go deer hunting, and we get a supply of meat for the year, and so it's a good way to do it. Yeah. So
good. Well, again, thanks so much, and I hope you catch a lot of fish tomorrow.
I do too.
Yeah,
I'll start with the one and go from there.
Like fish as long as your arm.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you, brother.
God bless. Thank you.
Yeah. God bless. And I will send you the link for this video. Okay.
Okay.
And I'll post on my YouTube channel tomorrow morning. Actually, I post on my YouTube channel tonight. Share it my blog tomorrow, but I'll send you the link too. So.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah.